Thank you, Liz. I'd also like to commend our respects for the Gadigal people.
Can't hear.
Sorry, I'd also like to commend my respects to the Gadigal people and they living around tonight. Is that better? Yes. Okay, I'll speak much louder. It's great to see everyone here tonight, so thank you for coming out. And firstly, I'd like to thank the Doctors Against Pollution and my colleagues at the Public Health Association who have worked tirelessly to keep health on the agenda. Health is so often misunderstood or forgotten, and this is really important, I think, to be aware of some of the health effects tonight. So I'm going to invite them along to, I guess, share some of the impacts, particularly the ventilation stacks. So I'm going to keep it really simple tonight and just talk about health impacts of ventilation stacks. So for some of you it might be a little bit more, but I think it's really important. It's really difficult to get that sort of information. And as Liz mentioned, I was quite involved in the WestCONnex tunnel. And as you might have, if you've been following the media recently, you might have seen that the PR company hired by WestCONnex and the roads minister Duncan have been telling us that there's no health impacts, there's no health issues to be worried about in the WestCONnex. So I think it's really important that locals are aware of some of the health impacts. And you may have also seen that Mr. Gay in particular has been just saying that we're Chardonnays are being NIMBYs of the Chatham classes who create more air pollution than trucks. So I'm going to challenge that tonight. So I think that's a really, to start with, I think that's a really disappointing attitude from the minister who's elected to represent the people over the interests of big business. And it's also really disappointing to hear the head of NRA echo the same sentiments. So as you know, there's been very little information about the design of WestCONnex. And I think that's a strategy so that we can't really complain about too much because we actually don't know much about the emission stacks. We know where some of them might be, we don't know how high they're going to be, we don't know much about road projections. So it's really difficult to talk in detail. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we know from the WestCONnex project. And so the government set a pretty low standard, a pretty low bar for government processes so far. So what we've done previously is the Public Health Association have made sure the government do know the health risks from pollution. So what are those health risks? Firstly, the World Health Organisation declared that diesel exhausts from trucks, utes and other diesel engines cause lung cancer and bladder cancer. And we know that sales of diesel vehicles is expected to increase by at least 50% over the next few years. So we're going to see a huge increase in diesel fuel, diesel engines. And in all fairness, there has been a lot of improvements in the way, in pollution gear. So most modern cars now have improved emissions gear. But still, there's a lot of dirty cars, particularly dirty trucks on the road. And those very fine particles from diesel exhausts are called PM2.5 because of their size. And they're small enough to be inhaled into the deepest part of our lungs and to stay there. So the World Health Organisation say that diesel emissions belong to the same potentially deadly category as asbestos, arsenic and mustard gas. That's fairly new, that's only been announced about 3 years ago. And I'm a health professional, I didn't actually know that. I didn't actually know the extent. So what do these particles do? They can trigger asthma attacks, bronchitis, emphysema and heart disease. And we know that the kids living around the WestCONnex emission tunnels, we're expecting about 2 to 3% increase in emergency department admissions at Hornsby Hospital just from increased pollution, increased exposure. So kids are particularly vulnerable because they're growing, they breathe faster, the particles launch into their lungs and stay there. So they're exposed. That's similar to, it's actually similar effects to cigarette smoking over a lifetime. Older people are also at increased risk because the particles lodge in their lungs, but also into their bloodstream, causing inflammation. So they're at increased risk of heart attacks and strokes. So older people who live near highly polluted areas are going to have higher rates of heart attacks and strokes. So what are inside tunnels? So some of these tunnels are going to be 9 or 10 kilometres long, so really, really long tunnels. And how do you get the, I mean, if you've all probably driven through the incline, how do you get all that pollution out of that tunnel? So there's high levels of carbon monoxide, sulphur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide. So road builders do make a lot of effort to get those pollutions out because firstly, no one wants to have a heart attack when you're, or an asthma attack when you're driving, so they do make a lot of effort. But this concentrated, and I guess what the chief scientist has recommended to the government, they do need to further improve the conditions of current tunnels. So, for example, nitrogen dioxide levels are currently too high in nearly every tunnel in New South Wales. This concentrated pollution is then released onto local communities. So we're talking about, you know, for a 9-kilometre tunnel, fairly high amount of cars, about 150 kilograms a day of these fine particles. That's a lot of particles. And importantly, there is the technology to filter those particles. It's not rocket science. So when I've met with the Planning Minister's Office, Prue Goward, and also we've done a lot of work with the roads Mr. Duncan Gay. Duncan Gay has informed me that the tunnel is the world's best standard. I was obviously very insulted to hear that. So what it showed to me was either Duncan Gay and his advisors either didn't understand the extensive health information that was provided, and we provided information from environmental health experts, air experts, all the latest medical research. So either the government didn't understand the health information that was provided, or they chose to ignore it. If we could use the example Mr. Gay has suggested as world's best standard, in Japan, diesel vehicles were banned from roads 15 years ago unless they had really high standard pollution filters. So in that world, the health of the communities is considered highly over the interests of road operators. So I might just look at what the PR people from WestCONnex have said. Well, firstly, the Department of Roads have said that increases in pollutants in the areas surrounding the ventilation outlets are so small they cannot be measured. This means that filtration would not make any measurable difference to external air quality. And that's actually just not true. Independent air quality experts have said clearly that the air, the ventilation outlets are not a good design, and they're very harmful to local community. So filtration of ventilation stacks could produce 95% of this particulate matter. I mentioned it's about 150 kilos. 95% of that could be removed by filtration. But that does cost some money. So what are the likely health impacts of the WestCONnex project? As we mentioned earlier, we don't know the design yet of the project. We don't know the height of the ventilation outlets, so we can only really be guessing based on the amount of cars that go through these tunnels. The WestCONnex people have said that these will be available in the next few months so that we can respond to an environmental impact assessment. And the WestCONnex spokesman also said that as per normal process, a health impact assessment will be carried out in consultation with New South Wales Health. Now, I'd really like to tell you what New South Wales Health have said about the previous environmental impact assessment in relation to the North Connect. The Chief Health Officer said that the health impacts of local communities from pollution is unacceptable. Dr. Chan highlighted an increased risk in hospitalisations and mortality for residents who experience increased exposure to PM2.5s, and highlighted that a National Health and Medical Research Council said that in urban locations, portal emissions are not acceptable because of the localised effect of such powerful point source of air pollutants. Basically, New South Wales Health recommended not to use that design. Okay, well, I could talk a lot about what's been in the media from the PR consultants. They've mentioned that tunnel ventilation is cleaner than standing by a road. It's actually just not true. They've mentioned that what else did they mention? Sorry, I've just got a few notes here. Okay, so basically they've denied there's any health issues. So I guess importantly that there are some serious health issues, it's not being taken seriously, and that I guess our recommendation to the Public Health Association is that if the government can't build infrastructure, can't build roads without sacrificing the health of local communities, then they shouldn't be building it. Thank you very much.